But right now, I want to jump into the next topic, which will be held by Livio Bencik, head of AI at Mindsmith. He'll be talking to us about building an AI platform, basically outlining his experience about building an AI platform, which was used to launch dozens of AI products even before generative AI. So, Livio, please come to the stage.
Thank you. That was a nice intro. Hi, everyone. I'm Livio, head of AI at Mindsmiths. We've been building an AI platform for the past couple of years, maybe half a dozen years. And today I'd like to tell you the story of how it all began and the lessons we learned along the way. So in the beginning, there was a long time ago, there was a weird bunch of people in the same place at the same time. There were like engineers, product designers, UX designers, even journalists, psychologists. We had a musician. So it was a really weird bunch of people. And in this crazy environment, there were like ideas flying around. And we were trying to test which of those could be potential products, successful projects, and so on. So we had, at that point, half a dozen projects that were wildly different. Like, they had no similarities at all. And, by the way, these were our honorary members. The left one is mine. So here we are, working hard. That's me, being crazy. That's us, hardly working. And so one day we met these guys from Germany, and they had this cool period tracking app. Maybe some of you know it. But they had even greater ambitions. They wanted to become a women health company. If you were listening to some of my previous talks in the previous years, you may remember them as those that send us the gold mine of data that turned out not to be a gold mine of data. It turned out to be an old, dump, empty, dusty mine, and that was our first lesson. So basically we learned that data, I wouldn't say rarely, but most data doesn't have a lot of worth. So that was something we began with, and then we sat and brainstormed, and we came up with these 3 hypotheses that we wanted to test. That turned out to be our guiding principles today. And those 3 hypotheses were, first, show expertise. So we were in this medical field, and obviously someone needs to stay behind the thing we communicate to the end users. And I think that applies not only to the medical field, but to like pretty much every field. So anyway, it needs to bring real value. That's the obvious baseline. The second hypothesis was, let me show you I know you. Know your user. Most companies try to do that. It's a basic product market fit. Find the users you're relevant to, your product is relevant to. And the part where most, in my opinion, fail is, how should I say, repeating themselves. Basically, let me say an example. I have my mobile package and some telecom, doesn't matter. And when signing this contract a few years ago, I gave them my ID number, my name, my address, etc., etc. And this year we were moving, and I wanted to register for an internet package. And okay, I tell them who I am, and they gave me this form. It was like an A4 list paper, and it asked me for my name, my address, etc., etc., etc. So it's like, I already gave you this information. It's like basic emotional intelligence, just remember it. So that's what we wanted to do. And the third hypothesis was, be proactive. Now this was kind of a brave step up, because it's like, it can be viewed like aggressive marketing if done wrong. If done right, it shows you care. In our example, we were trying to diagnose something called polycystic ovary syndrome. And this period tracking app already had like data about the women's periods, and some women were entering their symptoms and so on. So the first thing we wanted to show is this thing is backed by someone, it can show expertise, it knows what it's talking about. So we worked with a world-renowned PCOS physician that this company knew, and we built this model that could diagnose PCOS based on her knowledge. I'll show you how it looks like a bit later. The second point was show that you know them. And here's where things become interesting, because for some users, they had the knowledge of their symptoms. For some users, they only had the knowledge of their period. So we wanted to cover bases 2 and 3, so being proactive and knowing our users, by telling them, hey, we saw some irregularities in your cycles, and not contact those that didn't have any irregularities. That was the crucial part. So yeah, that's that. And then we asked, hey, your period seemed to be irregular. Would you like to answer a few questions and find out why? Now, that was our second lesson. And the lesson was, don't be afraid to ask. But only if you've covered bases 1 and 2. So you have shown why you need that data from me, and you have shown you already know the things you should know about me. And if you need some extra data to do some advanced calculation, no problem. I'll answer these 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 questions you need to get some value out of it. So that's what we did. And we asked, crucially, only the questions we didn't know. And the model we used was able to predict the most relevant next question to ask. I'll show you a bit later, actually. Anyway, this approach turned out to be quite successful. So we abandoned most of our other projects, except this one. It was a project with Ilio. It's a famous coffee brand here in Europe. I guess most of you know it. We wanted to pivot to this new approach to create personal assistants for their sales representatives. And we focused on guiding them to focus on the most relevant customers. Hey, this customer is his spending is dropping, go there, figure out why. This customer is increasing his spending, maybe send a gift or something, I don't know. And we taught them how to cross-sell, etc., etc. So now we had 2 successful projects based on this approach. Naturally, the next step would be to find some common ground, make some reusable components, and use that in the third case. Which is what I'd love to tell you we did, but we didn't. Because we were young and naive, and we jumped straight into creating a platform. Mistake number 1. That's me in 2019 making a huge mistake. We even had marathons. We were pushing for this winged mind, ignore the name, 1.0, which was supposed to be this platform we were going to build all our next projects on. Unfortunately, we did not have the third case yet. So we decided to build an internal project. We didn't want to code dry without any use case in mind. So we invented this internal assistant called Ava, and she was supposed to be, well, she is our VP of culture. Fun fact, she still runs on the newest version. She was migrated to each new major version. And yeah, with her, our new platform, WingMind 1.0, came out. This was the model I wanted to show you. It's a Bayesian network. It's a very, very old model. There are obviously some new software nowadays, but so that was like, what did I say, 2018, 2019. Deep learning, training, machine learning models was hugely popular. And one thing I'm proud is that we were quite good at ignoring this hype. So we did not go train our models, again, because we didn't have any relevant data. And we built this with the help of the expert I mentioned. So that's one good thing. Another good thing was what we did was this platform that we created was basically just a template. It was a repo that you can't see anything. Doesn't mind. It has lots of components, and we copy-pasted this code, and we have written extra code where needed, added some business logic, etc., and we had a new assistant. Now, from a engineering point of view, this is like a bad practice, but from a business point of view, this is a great practice because we could prototype and iterate very quickly. Maintainability was hell, but we didn't need it, and we could learn faster. So that was the good. The bad was, unfortunately, every other decision we have made was a complete bust. First, we have decided to build a distributed, event-driven microservice system that was completely over the top. We had Kubernetes, distributed transactions, we had MongoDB for the database. Another thing that was a complete bust was we built, so there were a couple engineers in our company that knew MongoDB well, and they thought it was the perfect fit for our use case. So we said, okay, let's do that. But then most other engineering members were afraid to do any serious database operations, so those couple guys that knew it better created abstractions. They literally created microservices for inserting data, fetching data, and updating data. Don't ever do that, please. It's made a whole lot of mess. We had to do asynchronous requests for any kind of data operation. Very bad practice. What did we learn? Don't be afraid to learn a technology. It's better than having two technologies and lots of custom-made abstractions. The third thing was we had two programming languages. So some of these components are in Python, and some of them are in Java. Why? Because the Bayesian network I showed you earlier ran only in a Java framework that existed at that time, and we also needed a Java rule engine to combine these things together. But most of the team, again, didn't like Java, didn't know it enough. They felt more comfortable in Python, and we said, what the hell, these are microservices, we can do whatever we want. So we made these things in Python, these things in Java. We had this MongoDB for most of the data. We also had Postgres because we wanted a dashboard, and we knew how to make it in Django, and Django didn't have an integration with MongoDB, so we spun up a Postgres. It quickly became a mess. Luckily, we had a great infrastructure team that managed to spin all these things up and coordinate them, but if I could do it all over again, I would create a simple monolith in one language with a couple team members. Well, maybe not even that. I wouldn't create anything. I would create one single reusable component, maybe two, and then build on gradually. Anyway, with time, created a separate repo that was our platform. It was basically a bunch of libraries we reused and some services we reused. And we published this pip and maven packages, etc., etc. And over time, the architecture was growing more complex, and we started having performance issues. Now, as you can probably guess, another mistake is coming up. We, instead of reevaluating the architecture to find why this thing is so slow, we just said, hey, let's rewrite this slowest component in a faster programming language. What's a fast programming language? Well, at that time, it was Golang. So we added a third programming language to the mix. So now we had Python, Java, Golang, MongoDB, Postgres. We also added Redis because we needed a cache. We had Kafka, Kubernetes, Azure, and a bunch of other technologies for internal development. We also had dozens of microservices, custom code on every project, and luckily we were too young and too ambitious and too inexperienced to see the deep shit we were in. This is the platform release 1.5, and as the number of use cases was growing, we created some abstractions, proprietary API stack, integrations, and we were feeling great because we thought we are on top of things, we're releasing solutions like crazy, we even built some enterprise solutions, and we were feeling productive, we had tons more ideas. So this is how I pitched it in 2020, our current state of the platform. It's functional, it's a bicycle, and you can use it, but it's not like easy to use it, so we need a refactor. And so we created 2.0. You can see things simplifying a bit, but not that much. We were quite happy with 2.0 because we had great reactions. Our methodology was also evolving. We had this great practice that of building a what we called human-in-the-loop prototype. It's basically an empty instance of our platform without any business logic, without any code, where a human could pretend to be the AI system and iterate quickly. Of course, this was fully transparent to the client and to the end customer, and we could very quickly find things that were working and things that weren't, before committing to writing any code, of course. This was our advanced AI monitoring stack, and this was our next release, 3.0, things getting a lot more simplified in 2021, because we got fed up of writing Docker files and Kubernetes manifests, and a colleague of mine and I said we can automate them. So we created another abstraction around that, but people were happy. By the way, this is my favorite meme of all time. And then came the judgment year. It was 2022, and our investors and us were asking us how we will scale this. Because at that point there were like 20, 30 of us, and we had like 20, 30 projects at the same time. And without more manpower, there was no way to scale this. So our plan was, let's create a platform business. We will release this platform so that any other developer in any part of the world can build successful projects like we were building. And then we invited some of our developer friends, hey, please try this out and tell us what you think. After the first round of interviews, I was, for the first time, perhaps in this couple of years, seriously worried. Because the feedback was pretty negative. There were questions like, I understand absolutely nothing. I have to write in 3 languages to get the most basic use cases right, and I see no way how to scale this, how to use this in production, how to teach my engineers to code on that, etc. So this is the version at the time, looks pretty simple, but it's a monster underneath. But we marched on, we worked hard to refactor the architecture, simplify things. We were doing marketing, we were doing workshops, that was a fun workshop. That was a doctor-patient demo, and they wanted me to be the doctor, so they bought me the uniform, and we pretended to have a conversation. Anyway, we wrote lots of documentation, we wrote examples, templates, we even created our custom cloud IDE that was pre-set up with our platform, with custom plugins, magic flying around. We started selling platform licenses instead of the solutions we were building. So we went all in. We had this internal contest, who would be the biggest influencer on Twitter, and we wrote blogs, and so on. Finally, we made a mess again, so we pitched for a refactor again, and we told everybody, hey, this will be platform 1.5. Why? Because 5.0 sounded too stable. So we said, let's go back to 1.5, and this will be the public version. In the end, we realized we were not ready for that step yet. And coincidentally, at that time, all of this coincided with the release of GPT-3, the model, not ChatGPT, and we got early access to the API, to the model itself. So we played around with it, found some strengths and weaknesses. We even created our own ChatGPT before the official ChatGPT with memory and everything. That was fun. But crucially, we decided not to use LLMs for any kind of decision making or any kind of orchestration in the system. Why? Because it's inherently unpredictable, unexplainable. It's slow. It costs a lot. These things haven't changed, even if the models have gotten better. So this was a cornerstone for us then, and we still stand by it. Most of the system is hard code that's running fast, reliable, and then we use LLM to write a nicer message, to parse the conversation, the text, the sentiment, etc., etc. So only now I see the rest of the industry realizing the same thing, and going back to good old engineering practices. Anyway, that's it's 2024. Our latest platform, 6.0 stable, was released last week. We are pretty happy. We were testing it in beta for 7 months. And we are finally in a place where it's easily configurable, extendable, it has a clear API, it's encapsulated, and we're starting with our first partners on a collaboration to create their own projects. That's how it looks like now. On the left side is the project repo, so it's basically empty. The services folder is empty. There is no custom code. Config contains only the configurations for the business logic of that project. And on the right, there's our platform. It has dozens of agents, libraries, and all of the stuff, which is clearly, like I said, encapsulated. And there's no custom code, dynamically loading plugins, and so on. Sorry. That's the end of this story. but the beginning of our story, and I thank you for your time.
Hello, Livio. Thank you for your presentation. I want to give you a certificate
you.
for attending. We are in a bit of a tight schedule, so no QA for now, but catch them in the hallway.